AEW can't sign everybody that gets released from WWE or even ROH for that matter, but AEW is in fact interested in bringing people into their company. How they execute it makes all the difference in whether it's a good decision or bad. Also, we know that there are 2 NXT main roster call-ups that are expected to happen very soon. Coincidentally, their contracts expire very soon. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Also, WWE is planning more releases, more information on that just coming up. I want to say thank you guys. You are incredible. If you're new here, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you're an existing viewer, honestly, I just want to say thank you so much because you are the best. All right, guys. So, Brian Alvarez on the latest Brian and Vinny show, they had Lance Storm as a special guest. They were talking about WWE's new plan to release NXT talent every 6 months, and the people who do not improve will in fact get released. Now, of course, as soon as I read this and I heard about this, I kind of thought it's kind of like the real world, right? You go to a job, you start a job, you're evaluated for like 3 to 6 months. After your evaluation, they decide whether or not they want to keep you or whether or not they want to give you a raise and, or maybe just fire you completely, right? Now, there is a huge difference, and this is my only gripe that I have about this specific story, okay? If you're WWE and you're working on developing talent, you're no longer signing indie wrestlers. You're signing people that are ex-football players, ex-athletes, ex-actors. Like, you are hiring gymnasium athletes, right? Gymnastics people. Like, you're not hiring indie wrestlers anymore. And while some of these people are athletic, you are now introducing them to the world of sports entertainment. Okay? You're teaching them not only how to wrestle, you're teaching them how to cut a promo, how to do all of these different things. You got to basically teach them the wrestling industry. 6 months is just simply not enough time. I'm not saying go ahead and keep these people in 7 years of developmental like you have before. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that have been released in the last year that were stuck in developmental for a very, very long time, and they didn't improve. So yes, you don't keep these people for 6, 7, 8 years in developmental. But I'm just not sure if keeping your newly signed talent that come from no background whatsoever, I'm not sure if 6 months is enough time. And these releases every 6 months probably won't be prominent names in WWE, but that's ultimately not a big deal either. It's just the fact that WWE wants to scout and recruit people. We know Bruce Pritchard and Triple H are recruiting people for NXT as it stands right now. And I think it's just a little problematic when you consider that you're no longer signing indie wrestlers. You're not signing people with indie talent or wrestling talent in general. So I don't know how this is going to work out for WWE, but I think ultimately what this is going to do in the long run is make WWE look bad because they're just going to keep having this press that is covering them every 6 months when people get released. Now, on top of releases, we do got to talk about the contracts expiring of Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano. On Destination PW, I have been covering this for the last several months, and we all know that their contracts are set to expire. If you guys want to learn more about that information, I'll put the links in the description down below. Now, today we know John Pollock from Post Wrestling has come out and said that, basically he reported that Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly are being flown out to SmackDown for tonight's episode, November 5th, 2021. So depending on when you're watching this video, this is, the date, whatever. Nonetheless, the reason why this is important is because WWE has been having NXT stars working main roster dark matches only for them to either get back into NXT or get released. For example, Jonah Rock, aka Bronson Reed, was working dark matches, got released. So the plan here is WWE may be trying to push Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano so that way they actually re-sign with WWE. That is the major belief here. Working dark matches is the report. I assume that WWE at this point in the game, they don't have a lot of time left, so WWE is getting ready and getting ready to accelerate the push of both of these gentlemen. And I think we see Kyle O'Reilly go to Raw. I think we see Johnny Gargano go to SmackDown. And I absolutely hope and pray that Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon completely stay away from renaming these guys, turning them into something that they're not. Because let's face it, they're smaller wrestlers. They're not the greatest on the mic. They're not the greatest characters. but they are good at what they do, and they have been fantastic in NXT. So just let them go to the main roster and let them do what they normally do. But it is WWE, it is Bruce Pritchard, and it is Vince McMahon, so yeah. Final story of the day, AEW interested in the released WWE talent. Well, I'm excited about this. So Kenny Omega tweeted out on Twitter, "Old rivals, old friends, some I've never encountered. I don't mind padding my record if they don't mind being a statistic. See if I care." Now, there has been lots of talk ever since WWE has released people throughout the pandemic, and this talk pretty much centralizes around the idea that WWE talent are immediately going to go to AEW. Now, as you guys have seen throughout the past year, AEW did sign some former WWE talent, but Tony Khan's always been adamant about the interest that he's had in signing people. If it makes sense for business, they'll do it. But also at the same time, too, they don't want these people to just come in and be another roster member. AEW is looking at everything from a business perspective. And Kenny Omega is absolutely right. Like, some of these people, they're not going to be stars, right? But if I'm AEW, and I don't care what anybody says, all right, as a content creator on YouTube, I've been doing this long enough to know what superstars have the most potential and which ones don't, okay? And there's one or two people individually, we'll say two, Keith Lee and Karrion Kross. Both guys right now need to be in AEW. Okay? Both of these guys need to be a big part of AEW. The good thing is WWE didn't prominently feature them as much as one would call them a WWE guy, right? Tony Khan has a lot of potential there. You got a lot of factions. You got a lot of cool stuff that you're doing in AEW. These two guys need to be there. If I'm AEW, I think strategically, Karrion Kross and Keith Lee aren't going to move the needle in terms of viewership, but what they're going to do is spice up the wrestling division. Obviously, the dream matches that you can have with Keith Lee on television. The idea of bringing Karrion Kross as a top-level main eventer almost immediately. Like, these are the type of things that you can do. Oh, and by the way, I think this is incredibly important to know. Keith Lee is such a talented wrestler, and AEW does have a little bit, they kind of missed the mark a little bit when it comes to representation. I think a lot of people have mentioned that as something that's a critique for them. So let's just factor in one simple thing. Keith Lee could be a world champion if you're a wrestling company, not a sports entertainment company. WWE want to change his name to Bearcat and this and that and put him in a skirt and put him in this and change his music and take everything that we love away from him. AEW is a wrestling company. Keith Lee is an amazing wrestler. I don't really care about your character in AEW because it's a wrestling show. Give him a manager, okay? Give him Adam Cole. Do it on Being the Elite. I don't know. Just do something fun. That's what makes AEW so awesome to watch. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. As always, click that subscribe button. I'll see you next time right here on DPW.